What's going on, people? Welcome to another Emotional Football live stream. The hell is my hair doing? My name is Alam. Today we got another news update, people. We've been doing this nightly for anybody who may not have been watching up to this point. Every night we recap the day of moves in the NFL, and today another flurry of moves. I keep waiting for a slow day where I might struggle to talk about stuff, but every day there's different stuff to talk about. So pretty grateful for that. The content is going to keep rolling. Shout out to the 8 people watching live. Make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. That's the best way to support content. If you're watching this on replay after the fact, you have the same opportunity to support. Shout out to all my guys in here. I see Jared is in here. I see King is in here. We got the early chatter about Mason Rudolph. That's definitely one of the bigger signings today, just off name. No, this does not rule out Rodgers, though. It does not rule out Rodgers at all. That is still up in the air. But yeah, we're gonna see. We're gonna start with Gardner Minshew, actually. So Gardner Minshew, again, one of the bigger names today to sign. He signed for the Chiefs to be their backup quarterback, making the move from the Raiders. What I would say about this is, shockingly, this is the best backup quarterback the Chiefs have had in the Mahomes era, because Mahomes' backups have been Chad Henne, Blaine Gabbert, Carson Wentz. So I don't think he's ever had a particularly good backup, and that's kind of always been a thing with Mahomes, is that you just got to pray he stays healthy. With Gardner Minshew, this is probably the best backup he's had, and selfishly, I mean, I'm not saying I hope something happens to Mahomes, but shit, man, I think it'd be really fun to see what Andy Reid can do with Gardner Minshew, man. Andy Reid is phenomenal at developing quarterbacks. Gardner Minshew is a wild card. He played for a coach in college that had him throwing the ball 60 times a game, so he's got that slinger mentality that nobody can get out of him. I'm very curious to see how he plays. But shout out to Carson Wentz, no longer backup quarterback for the Chiefs. I think that performance against the Broncos in Week 18 scared the Chiefs off so much that they felt like they had to upgrade. They're like, thank God Mahomes didn't get hurt. But yeah, Chiefs get Gardner Minshew. They get a backup quarterback. I talked yesterday about the Chiefs signings that, I still think they have a lot of work to do. Please go to the other shitty New York team. Don't kill me. We got all kinds of Rodgers banter in the chat. But yeah. What's it called? Yeah, I said the Chiefs still have a lot more to do. I still think they do, but they got their backup quarterback under contract. We'll see if they can add. But like I said, I don't think that they've done a great. Oddly enough, I think this might be my favorite signing of theirs this offseason. They've made some puzzling signings. But keeping with the theme of puzzling moves, the Texans trade for Ed Ingram. So get this, people. The Texans have got 2 interior offensive linemen. They got Laken Tomlinson from Seattle, and then they got Ed Ingram from Minnesota. They took interior offensive linemen from 2 of the worst offensive lines in football. Actually, I lied. That's an exaggeration. Not the worst offensive lines, but 2 teams that their interior offensive lines were their fatal flaw. Minnesota, their year fell apart basically when their interior offensive line collapsed against the Rams and the Lions. The Seahawks season never really got off the ground because they couldn't quite keep Geno Smith clean, particularly in the inside of the line. So, bro, Jared Brown, but you guys aren't adding good players. Laken Tomlinson and Ed Ingram, neither of them are particularly good. Seattle felt like they had to get rid of Laken Tomlinson and upgrade from him. Minnesota thought they had to upgrade this guy. You guys are adding interior. Basically, you guys are adding guards from 2 of the shittier offensive lines in football last year. So I don't necessarily get the Texans' approach to roster building this offseason. It's like they're building a super team around a shitty offensive line. So this is a really strange approach, especially what we just saw in the Super Bowl. Yeah, I don't really know what the vision is, but we're gonna have to see how it works. Maybe their offensive line coach thinks that they can coach that he can coach up the players, but yeah, this is not it. This is not it. Next move we're going to look at Dolphins. Ex-Dolphins running back Raheem Mostert is going to the Raiders, so he's going to go to Chip Kelly. I think Chip Kelly signed Raheem Mostert as an undrafted free agent. Out of in his rookie year, I think he came to training camp and didn't make the Eagles that year, but he was uh, on the team. So I guess Chip finally gets his guy. Raheem Mostert, fast running back. Definitely seems like a Chip Kelly running back. My only thing is that like Raheem Mostert's going to be 33. He's had injury issues. I think last year and the year before, if I remember correctly. Yeah, this is just not it. I don't think that he's going to stay healthy. I do think that they needed a running back to complement. I think his name is Zamir White. Yeah, I think you guys will definitely draft somebody. But yeah, I still think they need somebody else. I think you have to almost treat Mostert as the RB3 just because of his health. Now, if he stays healthy, then it's like you have found money, and that's awesome. But like I said, I personally would not bank on Raheem Mostert staying healthy at 33. I mean, I don't think the Raiders are paying much, but I also don't think they're going to get a whole lot out of this signing. So I'm whelmed. I'm whelmed with this signing. And then the next set of moves we're going to look at are the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Philadelphia Eagles signed 3 players today. Edge rusher Josh Uche. Uche? I think it's Uche. Tight end Harrison Bryant and corner Adoree Jackson. So as far as the approach here is I think these guys are all set to compete with younger players. So Josh Uche is probably going to compete with Jalix Hunt. Harrison Bryant's probably going to compete with Calcaterra, and then some of the actually no, probably not Calcaterra. Probably some of the younger guys behind Calcaterra, and Adoree Jackson is going to compete with Keely Ringo. So I think these are low risk, solid depth signings who that'll kind of let Philadelphia not really feel the need to draft certain positions. But as far as the players individually go, Harrison Bryant, I think, is probably just going to come in and block. I think he'll have a very tiny role, so I don't really think that signing is going to amount to a whole lot. Josh Uche, he kind of has a lot of Bryce Huff stuff going on, so I'm pretty surprised to see him get signed, given how little Vic Fangio liked Bryce Huff. So that one's a little bit surprising, but I do think that if after the Bryce Huff experience, they're signing this kind of player, surely Vic Fangio signed off on it, or at least there's something about him that they're okay with rostering. So I think ultimately Uche is going to be a depth guy. I don't think he's actually going to start. But I think he probably should be okay depth, even if he can come in on pass rush situations. He's had an 11 sack season. I'm not too mad about that signing. Again, I think it's good depth. Adoree Jackson is the one that I really like. I like that signing because I don't mind taking players that had down years in bad organizations. This is a guy who's played good football for a long time. He had a down year on the Giants last year. He's still only 29. He's going to turn 30 in the middle of the year. He's not even necessarily going to be handed a job for sure. He's going to compete with Keely Ringo. And I think between Ringo and Adoree Jackson, one of them is going to be good next year. We know that Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are going to be 2 of our corners. Those spots are locked down. And I think we have some quality competition now at the other spots. So I'm happy with that. We also got a vet with this signing because we have a very young cornerback room. Obviously, our other 2 corners are going to be in their second year. So I really like the Adoree Jackson signing. That's the one for me. But the other 2, I think, are just flyers. Uche got traded to Kansas City for a 6th round pick, but then he really didn't even play. So that's a weird one for sure. 2 teams gave up on him last year. So we're going to see if Fangio can rescue some of the value here. But yeah, not bad. And like I told everybody, first couple of days of free agency, like just give us some time. We weren't going to be shopping in the expensive stores anyways. When it comes to free agency, we were always going to take our time and get some higher, like some better value signings like these ones. So these are all short-term. I think they're all 1-year deals. So I'm not mad at it in the slightest. The Commanders, though, had a hell of a day. Now, I think this day that the Commanders are having, it really makes me feel good about the offseason preview that I did, talking about how everybody emphasized that the Commanders had so much cap space. They have Jaden Daniels, rookie contract. They have so much money to spend. They're probably going to build the super team. And something I cautioned people in the offseason preview series with is that the Commanders were going to lose a lot of players. Like, they just simply had a lot of players on 1-year deals that weren't going to be on the team the next year. And for that reason, while they had a lot of money to spend, they had a lot of vacancies to fill. And you're seeing with a day like this that they're starting to fill those vacancies. And like, you might not notice that any of these players are expensive players, but all of their contracts together amounts to something. But yeah, a lot of these players are also being re-signed. So Bates is being re-signed, Igbenogany, Trent Scott, Noah Brown, Michael Dieter, Andrew Wiley got restructured. So Washington bringing in a whole lot of depth here. Neither of these players are like superstars or anything. They're all solid players, steady players. But these are much needed signings for a team that has depth but doesn't have for a team that has top end talent but doesn't really have a high volume of depth players. They always were going to have a part of the offseason where they just shoot for value. And that's what they did with these signings. I think Wiley is their starting tackle, like their right tackle. Scott is depth. He actually played in Sam Cosmi's spot in the NFC Championship game. Dieter is depth. Osborne and Noah Brown. Here's the thing. Interestingly enough, I think that rounds out the receiving core. I don't think they draft a receiver or add anybody else, because if you look at their receivers now, I think they have 5. Because they have Scary Terry, they have Debo, now they have these 2, and then they have Luke McCaffrey. So that's 5 receivers. I don't think that they signed anybody or with the intention of them being a wide receiver 6, and I don't think that they want to do Luke McCaffrey like that. So I think Washington's probably done at the receiver position now. From an offensive line standpoint, they got the upgrade in Tunsil. But I still would have figured that they would want to upgrade other spots. Like Allegretti is okay. He's solid. Biadish, same thing. Cosmi was good, but he's going to be coming off a ACL tear, so I don't think he's going to be ready when the season starts. Andrew Wiley at right tackle, I definitely think could be upgraded. But yeah, I'm pretty surprised. I'm pretty surprised to see that Washington's bringing back most of that line. Like I said, what was I gonna say? Yeah, they always were gonna have to make a bunch of depth signings because they simply were just losing too many players to free agency. But yeah, we're gonna move past Washington here. Next team we're gonna look at are the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I was kind of waiting for King to come back, but we're just gonna push on anyways, because that's our resident Steelers fan. They got Mason Rudolph, Scotty Miller, and Ben Skoranek. Everybody here is a backup, right? Scotty Miller and Ben Skoranek are not going to be playing. If I look at the receiver depth chart, this might be like wide receiver. What are these? Okay, so they have Calvin Austin, DK Pickens, Roman Wilson. These might be wide receivers 5 and 6. So they're also probably done at the receiver position. And then Mason Rudolph is definitely going to be the backup. Mason Rudolph is not there to start by any means or compete. So they have their backup. They still need to get their starter. That's still a complete unknown. But yeah, not to obsess over any of these signings. I mean, I think Mason Rudolph is a respectable backup. I think Scotty Miller and Skoranek are respectable backups. But Pittsburgh's insistence on only signing backups is weird. This year, I think they're up to like 7 or 8 moves, but really only 2 starters. Darius Slay and DK Metcalf are the only 2 starters they're adding to their team. Yeah, just adding a lot of depth to a team that I thought needed top-end talent. I think the team that Pittsburgh had last year, they had good depth and they had a good amount of solid players, but I really think that they needed they were just missing some elite talent. I thought that they were primed to have an offseason, especially with as little guaranteed money as they have on the books. They were primed to have an offseason where they really addressed that. But like I said, I think Beanie Bishop is probably going to beat out Brandon Echols. And yeah, Mason Rudolph is not going to start. So you only got 2 starters that you acquired this offseason. Kind of a strange approach to roster building from the Steelers. But yeah, like I said, still time. There's still some free agents out there, and the trade market is still obviously available, but even that, like they traded a good amount of draft capital for DK Metcalf. I doubt that they're going to dip into their draft capital more to make another acquisition in the trade market. Free agency, there's some players left, but like not really. I don't think there's enough to do what I think Pittsburgh needed to do. I really think Pittsburgh kind of missed the boat this offseason. In terms of adding elite talent. I think they needed more than DK and Darius Slay, especially considering that Darius Slay is not going to be healthy for the entire year under any circumstances. Missed a lot of time in Philadelphia last year, not in terms of missing games, but just leaving games. I mean, if you want to get a feel for how much time he missed, Isaiah Rodgers got what, $8 million a year strictly off the minutes that he played playing for Slay. Hey, no worries, guy. No worries. I see you've been in here pretty consistently. But yeah, man. Like I said, I just think you guys needed more. And I look at your team, and I think you guys are. I mean, quarterback pending, right? Like everything could change with the quarterback position, depending on who they get. But like, I don't know, man. Seems like you guys are just gonna run it back, like 9-10 win team. You guys will be good until you guys run into an elite team, and that's going to be that. But also this free agency was asked. You're not wrong here. You're not wrong here. But hold on. If I were to look at the team, the places that you guys needed an addition, I would say, if anything, the only place that you could have added was interior defensive line. So somebody to complement Benton and Cam Hayward, and then offensively, just running back and quarterback. So I mean, I guess that's the thing. Like running back, there wasn't really an option that can be done in the draft. Interior defensive line, in theory, could be done in the draft. So let's say that's what you do in the draft 1 and 2. There's no room for a quarterback there. So really, what would tie everything together is you guys getting a quarterback. But then again, who is that at this point? There's no even wild cards you could go for. You know what it is? Stafford was the one for you guys. I don't like the idea of Cousins, Rodgers. Stafford was the one. But yeah, unfortunately you guys missed that boat. But yeah, as for the signings, like I said, just more backups. And yeah, it's been an interesting offseason from that standpoint from Pittsburgh. Whole lot of depth signings. But we're gonna pivot from Pittsburgh to another team that made some depth signings here. The Chargers signed Taylor Heineke. I think some teams are depending so much on the draft. For sure. I mean, it's hard to not depend on the draft, man. In NFL, the draft is so important. The draft is such an important part of team building. There's really no way around it. But Stafford wanted to stay in Los Angeles for sure. I think next year will be a lot better. Generally, or at the quarterback position. Because I gotta see who are the gettable quarterbacks next year. Actually, we're gonna explore that. We're going to explore that probably at the end of the offseason. But yeah, I think next year will be a lot better, probably. Next team we're going to look at, the Chargers. They got Taylor Heineke, so their backup quarterback from last year. They brought him back. And then Deshaun Hand and Naquan Jones, so 2 backup defensive linemen for the Chargers. And again, not really a whole lot to say about these signings specifically, but I think you're getting to the point where you can start to look at their signings as a whole and kind of question what they're doing. Like I think the best football player that they signed. Hold on, let me see if I can figure out who I think it is. It might be Tahir Tart. Their defensive tackle. I think he might be the best football player they acquired. Yeah, actually, no. Yeah, wait. The most expensive player that they gave a contract to, $6.5 million a year, they gave it to Dante Jackson. That's definitely not the best football player they got. So yeah, man, strange offseason for the Chargers. Reluctant to spend, and I don't know why. I'm not really impressed with any of the players they brought in. I don't think they were good enough to have this kind of offseason, because when I look at their team right now, let's pull up the Chargers depth chart. Where is it? Los Angeles. Like, if I start to look for outstanding units, their offensive line could maybe get there, but they need to upgrade their center. Maybe they're going to draft a center. Who knows? And then defensively, if I try to look for something they're outstanding at, I don't see it. Like I think this team is really lacking things that are outstanding. And I think they're set up to kind of be same kind of a team, a wild card team. I don't really consider them in contention for their division. I think it's going to come down to Kansas City and Denver. Probably going to be Kansas City, but we could entertain the conversation of Denver just because they have the rookie contract at quarterback, so they've been able to spend quite a bit. But man, aside from that, I don't really see the Chargers matching up. And yeah, again, there is some more time. But if I'm looking at their team and I'm thinking where they could really use an upgrade, let's see. Probably tight end. Again, I would have said center, but they signed somebody. I still think receiver. Because Quentin Johnston, Lad McConkey, and Mike Evans is not it. And then defensively, I think interior defensive line definitely could be upgraded. Edge rusher could be upgraded. Corner could be upgraded. Actually, no, they already. Oh shit, they're not going to draft a corner. I'm just looking, but the free agents they signed are trash though. I mean, definitely not safety. So yeah, I still think a lot of this team needs to be upgraded if they really want to contend in the AFC. Next team that made some moves, Dolphins signed a linebacker, KJ Britt. I do think he's gonna start. So I think they did address something here. Let me look at their linebackers. So you know what? Never mind. That looks like depth. I'm looking at it again. That looks like depth. And then Alex Madison, that's definitely depth at the running back spot. But I mean, I think he's going to be the running back 3, so that's a pretty inconsequential signing. And then Liam Eichenberg. So, funny story about Liam Eichenberg. When I saw that they signed him, I wrote his name down in my notes because I'm like, okay, we're going to talk about, this is another signing to bring up on the show. So when I went to make this banner here, right, notice how it says guard Liam Eichenberg. I had to look up his name on Twitter to see what his position is because I didn't know whether he was a guard or a center. When I looked him up, all I saw was Dolphins fans like mourning the fact that he signed for them. Actually, you know what? Let's do this on the stream. Let me pull up Twitter right now. This shit is too funny. I gotta. Okay, x.com. Liam Eichenberg. Oh, Lord. Okay, here we go. Share screen. Won't show the thing. It says, me in week 5 when Tua gets concussed off of Liam Eichenberg blown assignment, and I see Zach Wilson warming up on the sidelines. Dolphins fans after hearing about Liam Eichenberg signing. It's 2025 and I'm still unable to get Liam Eichenberg out of my life. Okay, too deep. Liam Eichenberg still plays for my favorite team. He re-signed with the Miami Dolphins, going to feel like a shotgun shell to the chest. And Larry Borum in my OL room. Bro, I've never seen a fan base riot against a signing like this. Literally, have you guys seen? Here's the thing. This Adam Schefter tweet is the first tweet that pops up that isn't pure hate. They want to be positive and shit at the Dolphins that terrorist Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel brought back Liam Eichenberg. Yo, they hate this signing. The official Adam Schefter tweet is the only one that's not pure hate. I've never seen this before. Eichenberg and Duke Riley taking turns stealing millions from the Dolphins every year despite both being legitimately awful. Liam Eichenberg and Larry Borum, week 17, fighting over who gets credit for the game-ending sack. Why Liam is going to be... hold on. Yeah, so I don't want to show much more, but... okay, finally, somebody. I don't hate bringing him back on a 1-year deal if he's not going to be starting. So yeah, that's all, people. That's just what I wanted to share. When I did some research for you guys to talk about Liam Eichenberg, all I learned was that the Dolphins fans hate him more than anybody hates anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that's not a great signing. But yeah, they got some depth. I think Madison is Honestly, I think he's cooked. KJ Britt, I think he's serviceable, but they signed some trash today. Looks like the Dolphins signed some trash. Um, Wait, hold on. Are we saying Madison being? Hold on. We hate Matt Canada way more than that. That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. I lied. I realized this. They were saying fire Canada at Penguins games. That's crazy. Yeah, he won't start many matches. True. True. But it's just funny to see that, man. You don't often see fan bases riot like that. Um, Saints signed some depth here. They signed a corner, Isaac Yadam and Will Clapp, the center. Will Clapp, one of my favorite names. I feel like that could be a rapper name. Like I'm kind of surprised that a rapper hasn't named themselves Will Clapp, because that's just a great name for something like that. But yeah, he's been depth there for a long time. I feel like he played for LSU. I feel like they've had him for like 5 years now. So serviceable depth there. Yadam is probably just gonna compete in training camp or something, but I don't think he's gonna actually play. But yeah, Saints got some depth here to kind of talk a little bit more generally about the Saints offseason. I think they had their couple like substantial moves with Chase Young and Justin Reed. But aside from that, it's been a pretty mellow offseason. No, wait, never mind. They signed Jawan Johnson. They gave him $10 million a year. That's one of the worst contracts of the summer, by the way. Or the spring, whatever you want to call it. Jawan Johnson for $10 million a year is irredeemable. Whoever negotiated that deal needs to get fired. That was horrible. But yeah, I mean, I like Chase Young. I like Justin Reed. But outside of those big signings, like Yadam, Pettis, Stoll, and Clapp, so nothing but depth. Oh yeah, they also signed Jack Stoll. I gotta add my guy to the banner, man. Former Philadelphia Eagle. Respect Jack Stoll, Harlem. Add him to the goddamn list. But yeah, Jack Stoll made it as well. Spent a couple weeks in Philadelphia. Maybe, I don't know, Kellen Moore and him struck a friendship that just is gonna last another year. But Saints don't really have the money to do much more than add depth, and so this makes sense. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they made some depth signings as well. Kindle Vildor. Now, no word of a lie, I don't know how this guy is still in the NFL. This guy, he was on the Bears, and he got cooked so much. Like the Bears fans that I know talked about him like he, was the worst player in the NFL. I saw him then go to the Detroit Lions. Do you guys remember in the NFC Championship game when Brock Purdy threw that pass and it hit a Detroit Lion in the face, and then Brandon Ayuk caught it? That was Kindle Vildor. Kindle Vildor last year came to the Eagles for a couple weeks to maybe solve their secondary issues with in Matt Patricia's defense. That shit was a disaster. I don't know how this guy's in the NFL still. I think he was somewhere else random. But this guy keeps getting opportunities. I hope he doesn't make the team. Like, he's not going to make things better. And then Anthony Walker, just serviceable linebacker depth. But yeah, we're getting to the part of the offseason where you're seeing a lot of depth signings. But yeah, the team I did want to talk about next is the New York Jets, because I think the Jets kind of have no reason to be having as quiet of an offseason as they've had. And my big issue with the Jets' approach to things is that they have a new coach that they have to support, and I don't really think they're supporting him at all. They have a lot of holes. They're losing a lot of players to free agency. As is, they weren't that good of a team anyways. The signings they made today, Stone Smart, he was a backup tight end in LA. I mean, I think he was solid, but the thing is, he's not young. He's like 26, 27. And then Jamin Davis, who I think a productive linebacker depth. The thing is, though, like, they have two expensive linebackers in Quincy Williams and what's his name? Jamie Sherwood. And then I think they have a good backup too. So I don't know why they wanted like a great fourth linebacker when they have all these other needs. But yeah, I'm trying to look at the depth chart to see, is Stone Smart going to start? Where are the Jets? Shit, yeah, Stone Smart might start. So hopefully they draft somebody, because that wouldn't be a great idea. But yeah, I'm looking at their team. They need receiver help. They need offensive line help. They need tight end help. They need quarterback help, even though they have Fields. Offensively, the only place they don't need help is running back. And this is post free agency, really. Not literally, but like kind of. On the defensive line, they need defensive tackle help. They probably need edge help. They have two guys. They have both their first round picks, Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald. But I think Jermaine Johnson is coming off a major injury. One of these guys is coming off a major injury. Linebacker, okay, let's give them credit for edge. And then shit, I think they need safety help too. Bro, they still have so many holes after free agency. Jets have to do so much, but they're not moving like that. I think season also just planning bad. Yeah, they're setting up the new coach to fail. And I think that's the biggest issue for me is that, like, I don't know. It would be different if it was just like ho-hum, random bad Jets offseason. But like, I actually respect Aaron Glenn, and I think he could be a good head coach. But shit, not the way they're supporting him this offseason. Now, I don't know who deserves the blame for their talent identification because I don't think they've picked out particular like great players. Brandon Stevens for the price, I don't think that was a good signing. I mean, you know what? I think all the other signings that they made, I've been okay with. I think I'm just really not a fan of the Brandon Stevens signing and the Isaiah Oliver signing, both of them. Not great additions to the secondary, and Aaron Glenn plays an absurd amount of man coverage as well. So those corners and safeties are really going to get put to the test. Yeah, not really a huge fan of the signings. Patriots made a couple moves. They cut David Andrews and signed Clavon Cason. So Clavon Cason was a highly, I think he was a first round pick, maybe a second round pick, but he had a great college career. He went on to be drafted pretty high. It didn't really work out for him anywhere, but last year for the Raiders, quietly, kind of had a good year. So, interesting kind of a candidate there for a team like New England. Cheap depth, and if he turns out to be good, then that's found money for them. I like the move. But when it comes to David Andrews being cut, I think it was probably like a transition. What you want to like, he's not going to be a part of the Patriots when they're actually good because it's going to take some time and he's old as hell. So it's probably just like a timeline thing. But also, I mean, I think he would have been a respectable body to have while you grow this team. I don't think it would have been the worst idea to just keep him around. But you look at their offensive line. They still need 2 to 3 offensive linemen, so that's a big mission there. That's a big mission there. So cutting David Andrews, I don't necessarily know if it was the right move, but they did it. I like the Cason move though, but still more work to do in New England for sure. And regardless of what they do, Drake May can't carry them on his own. And I'm looking at his team, and I still don't think he has enough help at the skill position spots. They literally have only made 3 signings offensively, a backup quarterback in the Pastronaut, Morgan Moses, a 34-year-old offensive lineman to play right tackle, and Mac Hollins, a guy who doesn't wear shoes. So they've really made like no serious offensive signings. And this is definitely true. Like they made no serious offensive signings and they're hanging Drake May out to dry right now. So not particularly great Patriots offensive approach, but I do think Vrabel, being a defensive guy, he's looking at it like, from a culture standpoint, I want to build a gritty physical defense to be a tone setter for the team, and we go from there. But yeah, man, Josh McDaniels, he's gonna have his work cut out for him. Like the Patriots have definitely been neglectful of the offensive side of the ball. Last few teams to get through for today. We got Neville Gallimore, defensive tackle who had some decent moments for the Cowboys over the years, but I think he really looked decent for the Rams last year as well. He got the safety on Jalen Hurts in the playoffs last year. I thought Neville Gallimore, had a promising end of the year, and I think this is a pretty solid addition for the Colts. Lou Anarumo, I respect the hell out of him as a defensive coordinator. I think he makes the most out of what he has. I think he was kind of unfairly given nothing recently in Cincinnati. But I really like the way the Colts have supported him so far. Neville Gallimore, Cam Bynum, and Charvarius Ward, they've got him some guys. I still think he probably needs a little bit more help. But things aren't so bad so far. I think he could probably use a corner. maybe a linebacker. But other than that, like they have respectable pieces on the defense, and Neville Gallimore is definitely a solid addition. This was a signing from yesterday that I missed. Lions signed Levi Onwuzurike. There we go. Think I figured it out. But this is a guy who missed a lot of time last year. A defensive tackle that wait, hold on. I may be mixing him up with somebody else. But yeah, he's a player that um actually no, I'm curious. I gotta figure it out. What is he the guy I was thinking of? How many games did he play last year? No, I must have been mixing him up with somebody else. So he played 16 games last year. Um Statistically did pretty well. Got almost 2 sacks as a defensive tackle that was playing rotationally. So yeah, they brought him back, cheap 1 year deal. Detroit, you know what? Detroit is also like for the most part what they've done. They brought back a lot of their players from last year. And you might think that the way their season ended, that's not a good approach. But truthfully, like they had good players. They just lost a bunch of them to injury. So I think their approach of bringing people back that know the scheme, know the system, are familiar with how things go, it's not a bad approach. And this guy was supposed to have had a very good season as a rotational defensive tackle. You got him on a 1 year deal and a contract year. Um, Not a bad move. The Tennessee Titans signed Brandon Allen, their backup quarterback. So he was the backup quarterback on the Niners and the Bengals, his last 2 stops. But yeah, this is a guy that was with Callahan in Cincinnati. He's a respected backup quarterback, but what I think this is a sign that they're drafting Cam Ward. That's what I wanted to talk about when I saw this signing, because there's no way they're rolling into next year with Allen and Will Levis. And yeah, it's just not happening. Like this guy is going to be the number 2. Will Levis is not going to be the number 1, and he's not going to be the number 3 either, because that's going to be awkward. So I think Will Levis is definitely gone because of this signing. I think the only way that Will Levis would have stayed is if they got a veteran quarterback, and then maybe they didn't like any of the quarterbacks in the draft. But I think this is a clear as day sign that they're going to draft a quarterback. And I agree with Jared here. It's going to be Cam Ward. So that's the big thing, big takeaway for me from this signing. Not much to say about Brandon Allen, but I do think that this is a sign that they're going to go quarterbacks. So it's early signs are, it looks like we're going to see quarterbacks go 1 and 2, which I think is pretty interesting. Kind of sucks for me because I did not want to see the Giants get Abdul Carter, but hopefully they draft Travis Hunter. But yeah, last 3 signings, we got Olamide Zaccheaus going to the Bears. He had a career year in Washington last year. I think he's probably going to be the wide receiver 3 next to Adunze and DJ Moore. I think it's a quality wide receiver 3. I also think that it's what I thought was going to happen, because whenever I talked about the Bears, I talked about how it makes no sense to re-sign Keenan Allen, because you do not need somebody like that as your third receiver. I don't think that I've seen Detroit have a third receiver that's anything special. Their third receivers are the Tim Patricks and the Josh Reynolds of the world, and Olamide Zaccheaus fits that mold perfectly. So I think this makes sense for their offseason. I agree. Their offseason is definitely a W. And yeah, this is a decent signing. He's a good blocker. He can play some special teams if you need him to. I really like the Zaccheaus move. I think anything more expensive than Zaccheaus would have been a waste of resources. I really, truly don't think Ben Johnson needs like a particularly great wide receiver 3. But what I do think, though, is they might upgrade their tight end. I think that they need a different kind of tight end than Cole Kmet. I think a part of the reason that they've never really had a super serious wide receiver 3 is because when they really got good is when they got Laporta. So I think things could be a little bit different there for the Bears. But yeah, I think they're done at the wide receiver position. Bills got Laviska Shenault, so they got him they got Josh Allen a bit of a gadget weapon, receiver / running back. What I would say is I'm a bit surprised to see this, because I thought they had this kind of a player with Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel, also a player you can do little tosses to. You can hand the ball to him. You can give him screen passes. Like, I guess maybe they wanted a second option in case something happens to Samuel. But yeah, they got another player that's kind of built in that mold. I think he was in Seattle last year. But yeah, maybe being on a team that has Josh Allen, where there's such a strong focal point, will make it easier for a guy like Visca to be impactful. Do you think the Bills will sign another wide receiver, or definitely not another wide receiver? They're definitely done at the receiver spot, I think, because I'm pulling it up now. Keon Coleman, Josh Palmer, Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel, and now Laviska Shenault. I don't think they got, unless they get rid of Curtis Samuel, unless Laviska is a Curtis Samuel replacement, I think they're done at the receiver position. The Josh Palmer signing is the big one for me because he wasn't expensive, but he wasn't cheap either. And they paid Shakir, and they just drafted Coleman. So yeah, I think they're done at the receiver position. I don't think they're done on defense, though. I do think that they'll make a corner acquisition at some point because they haven't replaced Rasul Douglas yet. They've replaced everybody else basically, but they have not replaced Rasul Douglas. So I think right now the Bills' biggest draft need is corner. And then maybe offensive line after that. And the last signing we're going to look at is the Cowboys signing I think he's a backup safety for them. Again, not much to say about the safety Mukuamu, like specifically to him. I think the bigger conversation is just the Cowboys offseason as a whole, because again, I'm looking at their depth chart. They've signed one player that our lads considers a starter. Now, I don't think this is all the way accurate because I do think that Kenneth Murray is going to start at linebacker. And you know what? Maybe Jack Sanborn might start as well. They may have got two starting linebackers, but they've got two starting linebackers because they have no linebackers. And it's not like they got two starting caliber linebackers that are great. Sanborn was a backup for the Bears his whole time there. Kenneth Murray, bit of a bust in Tennessee. Didn't quite work out for him with the Chargers either. So yeah, you got two linebackers that you might start, but it's not because they're supposed to be starting. And then you got Kaiir Elam, who's definitely not going to start. That's definitely just a developmental guy behind. Actually, what the hell? I'm seeing that Mukuamu is listed as the starting nickel corner. I did not know that about him because Jordan Lewis has been the nickel corner for the Cowboys for a long time. Maybe this is what this guy's going to be doing. But yeah, Cowboys offseason has been really strange. You can tell that the financial burden of having to pay a Prescott, Micah, and a CeeDee Lamb at the top of the top market value, while you're going to have to pay Tyler Smith pretty soon. That's starting to weigh on what they have going on. They signed Osa to a pretty big deal. A lot of money is being paid. Not a lot of room for them to add expensive additions. But their approach to adding depth is weird because I don't think they've gone for quality depth pieces. I think what they've done is that they've gone for high upside depth pieces, meaning players that honestly haven't been good, but they were at some point a high draft pick or a highly touted prospect. And they want to give that player a second chance. Examples are Kaiir Elam, one. High first round pick that didn't work out for him. Other players on the roster that fit the mold I'm talking about. Kenneth Murray, I think he was a second round pick. He was a fairly highly touted prospect in the draft. No, don't kill me. Kenneth Murray, also a first round pick that didn't work out. Solomon Thomas, a first round pick that didn't work out. Peyton Turner, first round pick that didn't work out. Javonte Williams, second round pick, I think one of the highest running backs in that draft by a draft pick, didn't work out. That's 5 players. Trey Lance, they did it last year. He's not on the team right now. Jonathan Mingo. So over the last 2 years, they've acquired 7 players that were high draft picks that just didn't pan out. They're clearly trying to like have like redemption projects. And I think it's a really strange way to fill out the back end of your team. I think what you really should do is go for players that are established backups or people who have succeeded playing in a small role. Like, go for the guys that are actually demonstrating they're good at the sport of football at the NFL level, not the guys who were good at the college level and it hasn't worked out for them in the league. But Yeah, so I've gotten through all the major signings I saw today. I'm gonna scan through Twitter to see if maybe there's anything that happened during the stream. But I dropped the StreamYard link in the chat, so anybody who wants to join the stream can do so. We can have a bit of a free for all in terms of just talking about any of the signings that happened today. Any of the signings that happened today, any of the signings that happened this week, any teams at large. I just saw something interesting. Well, let me pull up this. Where's this window that I have for Twitter? Okay, hold on. I just saw something really, really interesting. Okay, so Adam Schefter tells D-Ron ESPN he expects Cam Ward to be the number one pick in the NFL draft, either to Tennessee or to Cleveland or to the New York Giants trading into the spot. Sheesh. Okay, that kind of confirms what we were talking about with Cam Ward. I'm gonna add King to the chat. What's going on?
What's up, bro?
Hey, so Cam Ward number one. That's what we're learning.
Didn't we all kind of know that? I
So,
swear, this was news to forever.
so I think it was one of the outcomes. What some people were holding on to is that one of the lead executives. What the hell? Have agreed to. Okay, one of the lead executives in the Titans organization came out and said like, well, we our draft philosophy is that you don't pass up on elite talents or like generational talents, and like the whole part of like our whole draft philosophy is like you simply just take generational talents at all costs, and that to a lot of people sounded like Abdul Carter, because Abdul Carter is the like closest thing to a generational prospect in this draft. um so yeah, that's the kind of thing that people were holding on to. But yeah, no, like I think this is pretty clear that Cam Ward is going to be the one. My only thing is like, selfishly, I hope it's the Giants that get him,
Why?
because I don't actually think he's that good. And I think the thing is like, if they have Cam Ward, then I think he's going to be there for a while in the same way that Dak Prescott is. I'm not saying he's Dak Prescott, but I'm just saying, like, as a guy who doesn't believe that he's like an elite quarterback, I don't think he's bad, but I think he might just hold that spot for a long time and they'll never really be like real competitors. Um, I don't mind them making that move. If there's ever going to be a year they trade up to number one overall, let it be this year. I don't want to see them do that in the Arch Manning year, or any of those, like when there's a real elite quarterback. I don't mind them having, somebody who's there for a long time that's not that great. I see Jen Will's in here though. Shout out to Jen Will. Let's go, Gardner Minshew. Pat Mahomes is in trouble. Don't kill me. Uh, I get people being somewhat concerned with our lack of activity in field, but man, some of the meltdown I'm seeing is just ridiculous. Okay, talk to us, General. Talk to us, because I'm a little bit confused as well. This team has so many issues in every department every season. They will always move like absolute dumb clowns. No, for real, man. That's a pretty great way of describing the Cowboys there. Um, but yeah, the only move I'm seeing is that the Lions, they signed a quarterback, Kyle Allen. Um, they're showing a picture of him in a Steelers uniform. I don't ever remember him being there. That's crazy.
I think he was like one of the backups.
Yeah, it's probably a third stringer because they have Hendon Hooker, and I'm assuming that they're not gonna. I'm assuming that they would want Hendon Hooker to be there, um, if something happens to Jared Goff. But did you hear the rumor that basically the quarterback draft is so bad that teams are down to
Oh
like,
yeah, you said that. Like,
yeah,
oh, people are willing to trade picks and stuff for like Ken Hooker and all
for
that.
Joe Milton and Hendon Hooker? That's pretty wild. But shit,
What's
man, shout
that
out
elite level desperation?
elite level what?
Elite level desperation to
Oh,
do that.
that's completely true.
So yeah, this was kind of proving me and some of the other people right. Really, besides day one of free agency and the stuff before free agency started with DK and all that, I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah,
this free agency has been ass.
yeah.
It's been ass.
It has not been it.
This is horrific hoops.
Yo,
I'm getting sick of this.
I could have streamed at like 7:30, right? But I kept holding out. I'm like, please, Cooper Cup, make a decision, please, because Cooper Cup that would have saved the stream. That would have actually given us like something nice to talk about.
Yeah. But even then, what's the exciting stuff now? Cooper and Aaron? Maybe Russ? Is that it?
Let me pull up that list we had last that we looked at yesterday because I think it's updated. Okay, Stephon Diggs is relatively interesting. Tevin Jenkins, he's probably going to get a big bag. Cam Robinson, Rasul Douglas, Asante Samuel Jr. Thing is like, okay, there's not a bunch of names here, but there's a bunch of players that actually will change things for teams. Like Calais Campbell and Aziz Ojolari, like that's respectable depth to have. Um, but yeah, adding Jared to the stream. What's going on, Jared?
But just got from home from a hockey game in Toronto.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I hope you're enjoying the city.
Oh my god, I love it up here. I might want to move up here one day.
Hell yeah. Let's go. You caught some decent weather too, bro. It hasn't been that cold recently.
No, it's actually nice though.
Also, Genwil, why did you remind me of this, man? I really want that team to tank so badly.
Oh,
The Raptors.
But yeah,
Also,
Jared.
back.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll let you go. I'll let you go.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just gonna make this quick, but yeah, compare this year to last year. This is just not it, man.
Yeah.
this free agent is not good at all.
Last year's free agency was hoops, especially for an Eagles fan. Because, oh man, I wish I was doing this when we signed Saquon Barkley. Oh man, I would have been so gassed.
I think next year's gonna be
Even
interesting.
us, because we got both Russ and Justin. We made moves last year that I actually kind of liked, but now it's just like this all doesn't feel like nothing at
But also,
all.
you know what the problem is? Apparently, what's genuinely the case is Aaron Rodgers is holding everything up because once Aaron Rodgers makes his mind up, then Russ can make his mind up, then somebody else can make their mind up, and then a bunch of other teams can then make their minds up about other positions. So there's a bunch of inactivity that honestly is tied back to Cooper Kupp and Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers should just retire. To be
Rodgers should what?
just retired. To be honest.
I mean, yeah, I agree. Like, I don't understand what he's waiting around for. I don't even think he's that good. I think the way his career is set up, like, it's got to be Pittsburgh or nothing. Like, if he goes to the Giants, that's horrible. That's horrible.
Plus, if the Steelers do start Mason Rudolph, remember Myles Garrett smashed that helmet over his head?
Yeah, but there's no way they're going to sign him, too, because even the money, that's a classic backup quarterback contract.
Yeah, I remember that. Myles Garrett took off his helmet and just smacked him right in the head with it.
Damn, shout out to Myles Garrett, man. Legit trying to catch a ball.
No, fuck him.
Oh, wow.
I'm out mad.
No, I still don't
my
remember
Texas-
that. Monkey Pouncey put the hands on him for that.
That's true. The Pouncey twins were not to be played with.
Oh my god, I remember those days.
Then again, most of that Florida college football team was not to be played with.
No. I remember the USC and Texas teams going at it.
Oh yeah, that game is iconic.
Vince Young.
Legendary.
Yeah, the Texans need to do some better old line signings.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. The Texans' offensive line, tragic. Right now, it's tragic. Like, there's one proven player on the offensive line right now.
Yeah.
Because I was looking
It's
at
only
it.
our
Go ahead.
if their defense is better than the offense right now.
Oh, the defense is going to carry. So this is the thing, right? The defense is going to hold teams to like a low amount of points. And the game is just going to be, can CJ Stroud get you to 24 with a bad offensive line?
Yeah.
And then the thing is, it's not just going to be a bad offensive line. You guys are going to have one receiver and then a bunch of guys, which might be enough, but it might not be. We actually aren't going to know that until the season starts. Because, like,
Nico Collins, Christian Kirk.
Nico Collins, superstar, right? Christian Kirk, we think he'll be good, but he's coming off a major injury. You never know. John Mechie, he's solid, but he's not really a game changer. Justin Watson in Kansas City, part-time player. He's supposed to play here and there. Braxton Berrios, another part-time player. He should just be playing here and there. So, I mean, the only thing we know is going to be great for sure is Nico Collins. So they're kind of playing a bit of a dangerous game there as well.
And if Joe Mixon stays healthy too.
Right.
Mm.
Oh,
I'm
that's actually
smelling a Cavs 2017 roster with the Texans, not gonna lie.
what's that?
I said that Texans offense sounds like a Cavs 2017 roster.
Oh yeah, don't kill me, bro. It's facts. That it's like CJ Stroud is gonna have to carry the offense. Nico Collins is gonna have to carry the receiving core. You just look around and everywhere you see a carry job.
Yeah, now the defense has to carry us now with our secondary.
And the defensive line, bro. Your defensive line is looking good too.
And plus we have to re-sign Will Anderson too. And the next season.
That'll be money well spent. But truthfully, the fact that you guys are gonna have to pay Stroud and Will Anderson at the same time, like a premier edge rusher and a premier quarterback at the same time, that's going to cost a fuck ton of money. Like, you're going to have an offseason at some point when you're going to see some players cut that you're not really sure or you didn't really think it was going to happen to them. But, like, such is life. Here's the thing. That's the thing about the NFL. It costs to be good.
Look at your Eagles.
Yeah, look at the Chiefs having to get rid of Tyreek Hill. Look at all the players that left New England because they were only there for 1 or 2 years. Look at what's happening to Philadelphia right now. When you're good, everybody's value goes up and you can't pay everybody at the same time. And like a big thing that's coming up for the Eagles is that they expect to have to pay Jalen Carter next year and Nolan Smith. So you're talking about paying a premier defensive tackle, a pass rushing defensive tackle, and an edge rusher in the same offseason. That's going to be a fuck ton of money.
I would keep Jalen Carter.
Oh, there's no choice. And not only is there no choice to keep him, but if he has a similar kind of a year that he had last year, forget about if he has a better year. If he has the same year, then his agent has a very solid argument to be made that he should be the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. And if that's what his agent says, you'd be hard-pressed to argue him down.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the tricky spot that the Eagles are going to find themselves in. But Howie Roseman has paid the big bucks to figure this stuff out. So that's what we're going to ask him to do.
And I bet you're happy to Cowboys do it.
Shout out to the 9 people watching live. Make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Most important forms of engagement for the growth of a YouTube channel. We're going to be around for a few more minutes. Make sure you guys get in the chat if you have any questions, comments. We can talk about any of the signings that happened today, any of the signings that happened this past week, or just generally teams and where they're at.
The Cowboys are down at the bottom.
I've been meeting for the Broncos fan, Paul Severance, to come back because I got to ask him some questions about the Broncos.
The Broncos went off this offseason.
Bro, you know what's really interesting though? I thought that their team was led by their defense last year, and their offense was kind of behind the defense. But their approach to this offseason is to invest even more in the defense and kind of just let the offense be. Like, the only major addition they made was Evan Ingram and a 30-year-old tight end. I don't even know if that's it. So, I mean, I look at Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga, and I'm like, those are great signings. But offensively, like, it's just interesting that they're happy with what they had.
Plus, Dre Greenlaw just came from an injury too.
That's a good point as well. That's a good point.
The Niners are losing everybody.
Yep, the Niners are gearing up to pay Brock Purdy big time money, and they haven't had to pay, this regime has never had to pay a quarterback big money because Garoppolo was making average money, and the
For
quarterbacks
land.
before Garoppolo were making no money. So this is the first time this organization has had to navigate a top NFL quarterback contract.
So the Niners
Oh,
quarterbacks were
bro.
Yo,
Alex Smith,
facts.
Colin Kaepernick.
Brock has been ducking the streams this whole offseason.
And
The only time he popped in was he was like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like, "Bro, is Aaron Banks ass?" He's like, "Yeah."
that's
I
it.
think
That's all we
that
heard from
really
him.
was like the only time, yeah.
I want to know who's going to pick up the fullback who the Niners cut. Kyle.
Juice check. Oh, he's going to the Steelers.
He signed with
Really?
the Steelers.
Well, he's visiting them, so I'm just assuming that there's at least some
Oh.
intention to. He's open minded to going there, but he's visiting them tomorrow.
Oh.
He's not bad. He can be great utility.
No, I mean that's the thing.
They
It's a
call him.
fullback, right? Like it's not a game changer, but it's gonna help.
Yeah.
They call him the Juice.
Yo, and also in Pittsburgh, they like yelling that shit. Like they yell. What do they like yelling? Remember with Fryer Muth, they yell Muth, and
Yeah.
with they could yell Juice for him. That'd be sick.
For Heath, we yelled Heath for Heath Miller.
Exactly. You guys like
Yeah.
yelling shit. He has such a
But that
yellable
was
name.
for a tight end. But this is a fullback, not a tight end.
He's a fullback that actually, ironically enough, he lines up at tight end sometimes.
Then
I'm
maybe
just
it
surprised.
could work. But unless he's a full tight end, I don't think that's gonna work.
Damn, that's interesting. The gatekeeping is real for for the yelling.
It's not even
I wonder what.
gatekeeping. It's just what we did.
Hey, tight ends are nothing. You fullback, you can fuck off.
I wonder what Jane Will thinks of the Chargers so far. What they did in the offseason.
He seems like he's not as upset as some other people, so that's dope. What do you think if
The
Ingram
nice.
went to
Yeah.
the Chargers since he had visits with them? He could have went there. I mean, are you asking whether it made sense from a salary cap standpoint, or are you asking whether I would do it from a salary cap standpoint? Because
And did you
let's
hear?
see what he made.
And did you hear what Joey Bosa said?
11.5 a year. What did Joey Bosa say?
He left the Chargers because Jim Harbaugh was doing the Michigan style.
Oh wow,
Like
he
we
came out and said
already
that?
didn't know that. I knew that as soon as we signed them.
And Joey Bosa's the Ohio State Buckeye, so them two are rivals.
So, General, what I would kind of question is the fact that the most expensive player you have signed.
Man, don't stick behind the rivalry of college. Get over it.
Fact.
I know, right?
The most expensive player the Chargers have signed, Dante Jackson, $6.5 million a year. So Evan Ingram would have been very expensive by those standards. I kind of don't think that they would get up to 11.5, but maybe if Ingram was willing to take less, they would sign him.
How much did they sign Night Harris for?
Truthfully, General, I don't think Evan Ingram is that great of a signing.
How much did they sign Najee Harris for?
Hey, we have a Taz sighting in the chat. Taz, good to see you, bro. Haven't seen you since the Super Bowl. I remember you talking about first round exits, wild card exits. I remember that shit. Good to see you, though. Good to see you.
Have some language.
Bro, this is King and Jared. They're regulars in the chat. While you were here, you've definitely seen King and Jared in the chat.
Yeah, you remember us. You probably know Jared because I swear we watched that Cowboys and Texans game.
No, we were definitely locked in. We were definitely locked in.
Yep.
But yeah, good to see Taz back in the chat. Yo, I've never seen Taz not get in the chat and say some wild shit though. This is hilarious. No highs, no hellos, no nice to see you guys again. Just yo, who are those people? I'm like, yo, that's crazy, man.
Oh, I see the N word.
Like, bro,
members
ew, my guy, yeah.
Value members to the community. There's 11 people watching live. There's probably somebody watching who's never seen this channel before and does not understand the vibe. We're a very unserious channel.
Oh, yeah, we're unserious as fuck.
But yeah, we talked seriously about the free agents already, but now that that's over,
Funny how he came in after all the Super Bowl stuff and Philly stuff died down.
He was ducking. He was ducking. I know he was ducking the smoke because I remember him telling me that the Eagles were going to get bounced in the wild card round. Um, I mean, I like Najee joke 1-2 punch. No, here's the thing, General. I actually think you guys are going to draft a good running back, and you guys are going to have a 1-2 punch. But if you don't, Najee is about to have the nastiest year ever. Najee is about to have. If you remember that first Gus Edwards year under Greg Roman, he's going to have that on steroids. Man's going to have 30 carries for 100 yards like every week. It's gonna be disgusting what they do with Najee next year.
He's about to have his
Who
first
is
year with the Jets Le'Veon year.
who is Todd's favorite team? Is he an
Who?
Eagles fan? Todd, is he an Eagles fan?
Cowboys fan.
No, he's a Dallas
Man.
fan. Remember? He was the Dallas fan.
He was the one telling me that the Eagles were going to be out in the wild card round.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. It's been a while since the playoffs.
It has been a while. General, I heard somebody say that Najee Harris runs like he's wearing jeans, and that's the funniest shit ever.
He kind of does. That's the
He-
sad
He
part.
really does, man. He really does. But I'm telling you, he is exactly what Greg Roman likes in running backs. Just think about Gus Edwards. Like Najee Harris is basically Super Saiyan Gus Edwards.
What if the Chargers draft Ashton Gentry or that Cam from Arizona State?
I don't think they're going to get a chance to draft Genty because I think he'll go earlier, but I think they could get Omarion Hampton. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Omarion Hampton, but like
The North Carolina running back?
yeah, exactly. He would fit amazingly
Yeah, him.
in that system. Yeah.
They're saying that the Cowboys are going to get Ashton Gentry.
Mate. I think that was the most common place for Genty was Dallas.
Bro, let's go, Cy. Let's
Yeah.
go. Talk to him.
Yeah, pick 12. Yeah, they said pick 12 for Ashton Gentry. So that's the Cowboys.
I think Genty to the Cowboys would be good for them because I do think they need a good running back, but I think they need to figure the offensive line out first. And there's no way they should be playing the guy they signed, Robert Jones from Miami.
It was kind of funny because 4 or 5 years ago, we would not be talking about the Cowboys online like this.
I know.
Cowboys
But you know
fans
what it is?
always win the Super Bowl every year
I
because they're
only-
America's team.
I only think they need one more offensive lineman because I think that they should just play Guyton and Beebe, the 2 rookies from last year. They should just play them
Yeah.
and hope that they develop. So I don't think they necessarily need more guys. But like Zach Martin retired, and you have no replacement for him as of now. So I think the smart football move would be to take a guard at 12, or even trade back and take a guard. But if they want to take what's his name, Genty, like be my guest. Like he can't make up for a lack of blocks.
Mm-hmm.
But he can
So,
sure
I-
if he keeps his weight in calls, he can sure get out of tackles.
True.
So it's gonna be like, what's the point of blocking if he's just gonna stuff them off like Derrick Henry?
And plus Russell Wilson just meted with the Giants today. So
Yeah.
Yeah, both Aaron and Ross went to the Giants.
and I think the Titans are taking Cam Ward number 1.
Yeah, I kind of knew that from the start. I was like, it maybe should do it, but like, Cam got too much hype and love from all this.
Who did?
Since the
Cam
Titans
Ward.
drafting Cam Ward at number 1 since they just signed Brandon Allen.
Yeah, I mean, the Titans. Here's the thing. I think they're gonna draft the quarterback spot, but like, I think that they're like, I don't think that coach is it. Like, I think
No.
their problems run way deeper than quarterback. If you guys haven't noticed, they never hire a GM and a coach at the same time. They always fire one at a time, right? So they hired Vrabel with a random GM. They fired the GM, hired Rand Carthon, right?
Then they fired Babel.
Fired Vrabel, let Rand Carthon hire this guy. Fired Rand Carthon, hired the new GM while keeping this guy. Like, if your coach and your GM are never on the same page, how are you supposed to be a good organization? But it's not just like an isolated thing. The fact that this keeps happening, I'm looking at whoever the owner is, And I'm just like, you just don't know the first thing about building a team and building an organization. So like, yeah, I kind of just think they're fucked. Like when I see that their ownership is that stupid, I have no faith that things are gonna get better.
What ownership do you compare them to that's done really good? The Chiefs,
What's that?
ownership, and the Eagles ownership.
Oh yeah, yeah. But then also, if you look at both those situations, right? What the owner has facilitated is a connection between coach and management that's like
Yeah,
long running. So if you guys don't know, but when Andy Reid came to Kansas City, he took a bunch of executives from Philadelphia with him. Like the general manager, Brett Veach, right now, he was in Philadelphia with Andy Reid for years. So like there's continuity there. There's a relationship, there's chemistry, they understand each other, they look for the same kind of players. That's the kind of thing you want. In Philadelphia, it's a little bit different because they let Howie Roseman kind of dictate the coach. So like Sirianni and Roseman have similar philosophies because Roseman said so, more or less, right? I'm only hiring a coach that fits within my understanding of things. I think that's a really important thing to have in football. Like, I think Baltimore has also had a similar situation where they've had
well,
management that have been on the like basically had the same philosophy for like 25 years now, and they've only
same
had
with the
two
Patriots.
coaches. They've only had two coaches in
Same with the
that time
Patriots
span.
with Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft.
No, but you know what it is, Si? The mistakes would not be on the ownership; it would be on Howie Roseman. We thought Howie Roseman made mistakes. The energy has never been directed at the ownership. The ownership is amazing at what they do, and they're very generous when it comes to money. The Eagles ownership puts more money into the team than other owners, so the direction, the hate was never directed with the owner. We sometimes get pissed at Howie Roseman. That's just what it
And
is.
then look at your Eagles this year. They won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but even when the last Super Bowl we won, we were pissed at Howie Roseman before that as well. We just get pissed at
That was
Howie
against the
Roseman.
Patriots. That was
That's
against the
what we do.
Patriots too.
I mean,
Yeah,
that
Well, I'm
year
ahead.
after Carson Wentz, you guys did go on a little downfall, so it was like, great. This great season will go down to nothing.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. Well, I'm
Yeah.
ahead out because I'm tired.
All right, take care, bro. We're gonna wrap up the stream. Not to rush signing anyone to try to build through the draft. Bozeman got to go though. Yeah, I remember you were talking about wanting to replace Bozeman in the chat during the one of the watch alongs. So when I saw that they signed Bozeman, I was like, damn, I know my guy Genwo is not gonna like this. Bozeman got to go, but having decent, solid enough centers are hard to find in this league. No, that's true. Like you guys are definitely trying to build through the draft. Like Harbaugh is like a program kind of a coach, so he's trying to build like bring in players he can mold to his program.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen with the Chargers. So, I mean, if you're able to look at that and see the value in that, then like, yeah, you're fine. But I know a lot of people are impatient. They want the free agents that are going to change things immediately, but it doesn't always work that way. I think the Chiefs will have a lot to do next season. I agree. But yeah, we're going to close
Look
it
at
out here.
every team needs a lot to do next season.
What's that?
Every team needs a lot to do next season.
That's true. That's true.
This
That's true.
season was definitely the die down from last year to get ready for the next up and coming 2 years.
Right.
I swear these next 2 years are gonna be something.
They definitely are, man. But yeah, shout out to everybody in here. 8 people watching live. Make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the channel In Motion Football. We've been doing nightly streams um throughout free agency to recap what happens every day. So if you like this stream, you can go back and listen to the other ones. There was a lot more interesting news. This was kind of a slow news day. Again, if there's a really slow day tomorrow, then I won't do it. But if there's relevant news, then I will be there. I know that I'm probably going to be doing the Raptors game, but that's in Utah, so it's kind of like late. So I can do probably a little bit earlier than today's stream. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing, people. Shout out to everybody in here. Like I said, run up the likes, hit the sub button, and I'll see you guys later. You guys take care. We're out.